back to Exponential Finance, the podcast covering finance, technology and innovation, from our home in Japan and beyond. Today's episode features Coinfirm, a well-recognized global leader in blockchain and cryptocurrency analytics. Their mission is to provide technology for regulatory compliance, bringing new levels of transparency and trust to the world of digital assets. Coinfirm aims to serve as a foundation for the safe adoption of blockchain by all actors in the economy, including traditional financial institutions, governments, regulators as well as ordinary citizens. They do that by applying regulatory technology for blockchain that solves a variety of compliance challenges. They provide anti-money laundering, AML, and Know Your Customer, KYC, services for virtual asset service providers and blockchain actors. Our conversation focuses particularly on the application of these to the decentralized finance, DeFi, space. And now, please welcome Pawel Kuskowski, co-founder and chief executive officer at Coinfirm.
Hi Norbert, hello everyone. Pleasure to be here. Yeah, a few words on the, DeFi. It's a pretty complex and pretty young area as well. So I think, we're still learning what are the risks and how to properly manage this. The one thing which is kind of lesson from previous experience, which is ICO, initial coin offering, or traditional, right now, called traditional cryptocurrency exchanges, which sounds still weird. It's actually that initially you think or you try to explain everyone that you are not regulated or you are not falling into the regulations, but over time it's just catching up on you. And it's pretty normal, pretty standard procedure. So, question is it going to be the same with DeFi in terms of time, or it's going to be quicker in terms of regulatory response? I think it's going to be much, much quicker, There's good reason for this. All right, but let me very quickly go through a little bit about Coinfirm. So just to provide you some background, we are a global leader in blockchain analytics and AML solution. We currently, both in terms of coverage of crypto assets, but also, in the client service. So we have over 200 clients globally, including a number of main exchanges also in Japan. Some of the example of the clients is Binance, Börse, Stuttgart, Swissquote, and some new age banks as well, especially from Europe, but also other crypto services. In terms of what we are valued the most, is actually the complexity or how many different data points we are extracting from transactions. This is major information when you are managing risk related to crypto. But focusing on DeFi, we see more and more discussion on that. It's actually, there is growing regulatory risk related to decentralized finance, decentralized exchanges. We see this from both in terms of regulators, but also financial investigation units who see this becoming a huge risk in terms of traceability of the funds. We see KuCoin case, for example, which use DeFi extensively to actually kind of disguise the traceability of the funds. That's something which, in terms of risk related to cryptocurrency exchanges and crypto market in general, that's something that it's not going to be overlooked by the regulators. So we see also that the numbers related to DeFi's are increasing dramatically. We see growing number of funds locked in Uniswap and similar volume of trade. So that's all the numbers which we are looking at. It's actually increasing. And that's a reason for this, and a number of reasons, like, for example, it's better actually in terms of obtaining liquidity, market making. But as inherently, there is huge risk related to decentralized finance, DeFi's. And if we break down these responsibilities, this risk, one is the legal responsibility of the teams which are running these projects, right? How disconnected is the protocol or DEX or DeFi smart contract from the team? How the team is able to control it? And you could argue that although, I think, currently the properly decentralized is only one coin is actually Bitcoin. The rest is actually pretty heavily controlled by small group of people, including Ether. So the same conversation is happening in different parts of the world. How decentralized is protocol to be called to remove responsibility of the team running this. Because this is like, can you design something which is helping with sanction breach, right? And remove yourself from responsibility. This kind of conversation are happening in different parts of the world. And we have like examples of recent case with Mixer, owner, creator in US who was actually captured by US special forces. And basically, that's also protocol which was run almost decentralized way, mixing funds. But there's still, connection with this person created. Another one is BitMEX. I think that's another good example when the team tried to remove themselves from the US soil connection, and this didn't go through well. So I think that's gonna be something which is, responsibility of the team behind. That's gonna be big, and I don't think that's gonna be removed from responsibility. Another one is that everyone would be looking at the institutional adoption, and in our opinion, and from what we hear from the market, no institutional investor will be able to touch any of the decentralized protocols when there's no proper AML risk management in place, right? Because nobody wants to be exposed to this kind of risks. And also, there are some groups which are connected with the decentralized protocols, but also understanding this risk and understanding this market path and following this market, right? Another one major breach major risk is actually breach of sanctions. So very interesting. So sanctions, that's primarily, let's say, US outreach outside in the world. So whoever is actually breaching OFAC sanction list, helping terrorist financing, is going to be responsible almost regardless of the jurisdiction, right? And that's something which cannot be ignored. And we also see like FinCEN saying that even if you are paying ransom to someone hacking your system, you could expose yourself to major risk in terrorist financing, right? In sanctions breach. So that's actually coming back to the DeFi projects, because I can assure you, and we actually are about to issue a report which is talking about how many sanctions related funds are actually processed through DeFi. So that's something which is huge and huge risk, and that's gonna be the risk which cannot be ignored. So these are the major risks when we talk to DeFi projects operators. When we talk to them about this, some of the examples of when EtherDelta and KuCoin, which I mentioned already, both hacks were actually transferred through. The funds from the hacks were actually transferred through DeFi, right? So that's another risk, right? And it's one of the legal responsibility. It doesn't have to be criminal; it could be civil. Okay, so what we do in terms of helping managing transactions in general, right? So we can identify, address, help with assessment of the risk of the counterparty. We have also a tracing solution, which means that we can you can use our tools to go through the chain of transactions to check yourself where is it actually going. And we also are the leading provider of the recovery of the assets. And you can check on our website. We have service called Reclaim Crypto, where thousands of people are registering their claims, and we're helping them recover funds, and it's extremely successful. So you can also see this, and it's, for us, DeFi is one of the space when we are tracing these funds. In terms of our AML solution, we have the most complex solution on the market. That's our bread and butter on a daily basis. So we have analysis which helps with risk analysis, monitoring transaction, visualizing different transactions, case management, and also we're launching travel rule solution very soon. So what we can, identify on the transaction is this profile of the owner, the behavioral patterns, relation to darknet gambling. Some of the jurisdictions cannot touch funds from gambling. That's also when we are helping hacks-related funds, ransomware, Ponzi scheme. We do extensive big data analysis, machine learning analysis. We create clusters, we create proximity paths. We analyze dormant, inactive addresses. One of them was very recently, interestingly, releasing some funds. So that's also something which hit the market. What we see that in majority, it's almost 40% of Bitcoins, we know one of the party we identify in every transaction. So from either sender or receiver, in 40% of transaction, we are able to identify this counterpart, which is huge, which means that, that's majority. It's almost like in every transaction, we can identify someone. Risk analysis. So we created, the most comprehensive risk analysis, and in majority of our clients want to have simple and quick answer. Okay, yes or no. Can I pass this transaction? Or can I allow this transaction or no? And this is critical. This is critical also, when we talk about DEXs and DeFis, because majority of them would be running on smart contract and they don't have time or capacity to actually analyze this transaction in a different way. So some of our clients would be simply querying our Oracle, which I'm going to talk more about, and having answer, can I pass this transaction, yes or no? And that's something which is unique on the market. This is some of the key figures. I guess, one of the key figures actually produce around 10 millions of reports per day, which means that we have around a few billions of analysis per day in our database. Some of the example of identified darknet addresses, scam addresses, CoinJoin, which is one of the biggest mixer on the market addresses. We also launching, and it's also to support the DeFi space, the question about KYC. So that's something which we are also launching, AML Oracle, AML KYC Oracle to support DeFi, because without this, actually, it's going to be impossible. What we do with our analysis and how we are actually helping DeFi space. We created and we launched this to the market a month ago, Oracle, which is basically smart contract, which connects DeFi smart contract with our Coinfirm API. So the smart contract is querying Oracle to get information, okay, can I allow this transaction to be conducted on our platform or no? In this way, we are helping to block high-risk transactions. We are helping to block any sanctions-related funds. We also do, whitelisting of certain addresses to actually streamline the process for DEXs. There are two ways to approach this. One, when the user is actually already operating with DEX, and DEX is actually responsible in this situation for analyzing incoming and outgoing funds. So DEX is actually receiving requests for transactions. They check our Oracle. Oracle is checking our API, and API is actually responding with simple answer, which is, C-score, so reference to what is the risk related to this particular transaction. And it's, so effectively, if the risk is too high, that means that transaction cannot happen because it may be related to sanctions, it may be related to darknet. The other way to approach this is, and we also are launching this very soon, is users are registering with us, our Oracle website, pre-clearing certain addresses, going through KYC process. And in this way, so we are creating central database of pre-cleared users. And in this way, we actually allowing DeFi services to interact only with pre-verified addresses. For them, it's actually extremely fast process, extremely effective in terms of ether cost and gas cost. So that's something which we see, and we already work with some of the clients. That's currently in the beta version, where we work with some of the major players on the market on this particular solution. So AMLT or AML Oracle benefits are actually protecting DeFi projects from high-risk transactions. It's a smart contract-based solution, so it's easy to implement for these DeFi projects, which many collaborate or cooperate with a number of different smart contracts. That's native to, this Oracle is actually native to the DeFi projects protocols, right? We created effective way to block from sanctions entities, protecting DeFi projects from violating sanctions regulations. In addition to this, many of our DeFi clients will be using our platform in a general way, assessing ongoing risk with transactions. So irrespective of the transactions being blocked, they actually want to have overview of the risk related to this particular transaction. So they use our AML platform, and this AML platform is giving them overview on every transaction which is happening on the DeFi space. Another big support for the DeFi projects are actually what's called AML Network Risk Report. This is what we are analyzing for certain protocols. So we give big picture of the risk related to particular DeFis or protocols or exchanges. So many of the DeFi projects would be also, on the monthly basis, requesting this from us, and we provide them with comprehensive information of the risks related to, how many transactions are high risk, how many transactions are in different jurisdictions. That's information which we are providing in this report. And it helps a lot, it helps compliance officers to manage, to show what's the risk profile of the particular protocol or DeFi. This report is actually shared with regulators, investors, management team, token owners, and all the networks. So that's effectively, the snapshot which is given for this particular cases. We also have the AMLT network, which is focusing on the DeFi projects. So many of the DeFi projects would be registering with our network and actively providing or reporting to us addresses which they see they are, for example, fraudulent, or there's something going on which shouldn't be happening on this market, right? So in this way, we are able to add this to our system and propagate this to everyone involved. So that's effectively it from our side, from my side.
Wonderful. Thank you, Pawel.